Well, and Brian, you know what I don't understand about this movie? It really seemed like they were purposely trying to tank the franchise. I watched a show when I was a kid called Rocko's Modern Life.
I love that show.
Yeah, and Mr. Bighead's kid was just.
You think they Ralph Bigheaded?
Yeah, he's trying to kill his own.
You think this is Wacky Deli?
But no, that's my point. Like they couldn't. They'd be insane. Like because Batman is one of their biggest franchises, if not their biggest franchise, and they were planning other sequels after Batman and Robin. So how, if you're not purposely sabotaging your own medium, how can you fuck it up this bad?
Dude, I have never heard of Batman and Robin be compared to Wacky Deli and Rocko's Modern Life ever. That's a first.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
And I'm such an ice hole.
You're such an ice hole. Yeah, I kick some ice. In the Grey's box office moving.
I wonder what we're talking about this week.
We're talking about a movie that is 220 episodes in the making. This is an important one because this episode will close out our long-running chapter on this show that began all the way with episode 1 with Batman Returns, in which we were breaking down the original classic Keaton Burton trilogy. What's the word? Quadrilogy?
Yeah, I think
quadrilogy.
Yeah, even though the Schumacher ones and the Burton ones don't coexist at all. But
I mean, he executive produced him, which just means, hey, he was there.
They gave him a paycheck so they could put his name on it.
Exactly. Although did he executive produce this one?
That I don't know.
I don't know if he did.
Maybe he did, and then he Alan Smithied it when he saw it.
I would have Alan Smithied this fucking thing the whole time. I'm surprised that Schumacher didn't Alan Smithy this thing, because I would have.
No, he was proud of it. He didn't know why people were mad at him. He was like, "What? I don't understand." Dude. But yeah, we did. Like you said, Batman Returns #1. We did the 30th year anniversary retrospective of Batman '89, where you and I just geeked out the whole time. We
did Forever, in which we basically all agreed that this movie on paper works really well, but in execution is not. But not as bad as
that
this.
Awful. Yeah, because Batman Forever was a really that awful, where we gave it a chance.
I think you gave it a chance. I still was condemning it like sin.
Yeah.
But
compared to this,
this is the I guess the aborted fetus of Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher, in which actually no, I'm wrong on that one. This is the aborted fetus of Warner Brothers and every toy company in show business, because that's all this fucking thing is. And we're of course talking this week about 1997's Batman and Robin.
Which
dun.
I was so goddamn excited. I was 12 years old. I loved the first two. I will admit, when I was 10 years old, I liked Batman Forever because there was a lot of action. Jim Carrey was my god at the time, so I was just anything Jim Carrey was, and I was like, so I was blinded by that. But even in 97, even at 12 years old, I felt like Krusty the Clown after he saw the replacement Itchy and Scratchy cartoon from Central Europe, where he's like, I was like, what the hell was that? When the credits were rolling, I was like, what in God's name did I just witness?
Yeah, so I was around the same, I think I was the same age as you, and I remember this literally clear as day. So growing up, my dad would take us, me and my brothers, to a place called Torch Lake. It's in Michigan. And I remember that the weekend that Batman and Robin came out, that we were leaving to go to Torch Lake, and we were usually only up there for about a week, or maybe it's even 2 weeks. And I remember that coming back, that it was no longer in theaters. Like,
yeah.
like it lasted 2 weeks.
We forget that now about like the pandemic where like, you know, I think Tom and Jerry was one of the first movies, the new Tom and Jerry that came out like back when theaters were picking back movies. I think that was in there for like 17 weeks.
Yeah.
But when Hollywood's, you know, chugging along in a normal scenario, yeah, you better check out a movie in the first 4 weeks unless it's making bank.
I mean,
it will be popped out.
Well, honestly, like, it was the weirdest thing because I was like, well, I want to go see Batman and Robin, and this was one of the ones that I didn't see in theaters at the time. And I remember I was really kind of pissed off about that. I'm like, oh, I got to see Batman and Robin. And I was naive. I'll be the first to say it. I'm a Batman fanboy first. You always remember your first fandom, and for me, it was Batman. But, you know, I remember I was like, oh, man, I wanted to see it in theaters because I saw it forever, and I tricked myself into liking it. But still was, like, unsure why I kind of was like, this isn't the same thing. And part of it was, like, it's not Michael Keaton, and then on top of that, I wasn't completely down with all of the goofy colors and shit, but I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's still Batman. Plus, I got to be honest with you, that movie had probably the best video game commercial ever for a video game. Like, I was obsessed with that video game commercial for the Batman Forever game. I don't know if you remember it.
Super NES or Sega?
Oh, I was Sega, dude.
Oh, I had the Sega one too, yeah.
Yeah. But I remember I was like, the real game begins. I'm like, I need to have the game. But the point is that movie, Batman and Robin, was so shitty that it disappeared within 2 weeks. And that's uncommon. Most movies typically will have, at least at the time, like this is 97, would have anywhere from, 2 months to 90 days in theaters. I just remember it was very unusual. I was like, what the hell happened? It just disappeared after 2 weeks. Obviously we know why.
Well, this was a big summer tentpole movie, and the first Batman in '89 was one of the highest grossing movies of all time when that came out, like around there, in the top 10 somewhere. And then Batman Returns didn't make as much money as Batman, but still serious chunk of change. And then when they adjusted things to make it more McDonald's friendly, like Batman Forever, I think made more than Batman Returns, just not much as Batman '89. So they thought, oh yeah, this is going to be where we break even at Warner Brothers this year,
and not so much.
What do you think? 500 million, 600 million, and then, no. Well, and Brian, you know what I don't understand about this movie? It really seemed like they were purposely trying to tank the franchise. I watched a show when I was a kid called Rocko's Modern Life.
I love that show.
Yeah, and Mr. Bighead's kid was just.
You think they Ralph Bigheaded?
Yeah, he's trying to kill his own.
You think this is Wacky Deli?
But no, that's my point. Like they couldn't. They'd be insane. Like because Batman is one of their biggest franchises, if not their biggest franchise, and they were planning other sequels after Batman and Robin. So how, if you're not purposely sabotaging your own medium, how can you fuck it up this bad?
Dude, I have never heard of Batman and Robin be compared to Wacky Deli and Rocko's Modern Life ever. That's a first. I think that might have to be kind of like the I don't know, that might actually have to be the title for the podcast episode. Batman and Robin is the Wacky Deli of movies.
Well, couldn't you see it? Just like a couple executives sitting around. Okay. How could we ruin this movie? Let's put in Mr. Freeze. Who plays him? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You know who it was? I can tell you exactly who it was. Okay, it was Michael Urson, the guy who typically has been at the helm of every Batman movie since the beginning. He taught a Batman comic book college course and basically brought the movie to Warner Brothers. Yeah, it was him. He probably was like, I'm fucking done with this. We need to kill it.
It's like, hey, you know that new character, Bane, who was in like the Nightfall compendium stories and stuff that everybody has just fallen in love with? Yeah, let's take away all its intelligence.
Yeah, but it's interesting. This movie literally did kill the entire franchise
For 8 years.
For almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years. And like when we say it killed the franchise, we mean that with the exception of animated versions of Batman, no one wanted to have anything to do with it.
Well,
Nobody.
Brian, I would go even further. I think it killed the superhero genre until like around X-Men, Spiderman.
Well, the one thing I will say is that I think that this movie, even though it is god awful, and it really is, I think that people who made X-Men looked at this film and said, okay, we can't do what they did. Because you could make the argument that without Batman and Robin, we may have never had X-Men, which then would have led to Spider-Man, which then would have led to Marvel films.
Yeah.
Because you had to reach the bottom. Okay. Yeah. You had to reach that point of, yeah, don't do this. And you had to reach that point of, we can't be toyetic anymore. A lot of people might not know what that term means, toyetic. In Hollywood, especially with movies like Batman and Robin, any superhero property, but honestly in the 90s you saw toyetic stuff with movies that you wouldn't necessarily associate with toys. Like I remember as a kid getting Dick Tracy action figures, and it's like the movie is not at all geared towards children, but I had the Dick Tracy lunchbox, and I had like Big Boy Caprice and the Dick Tracy wristwatch, which surprisingly enough was fucking RoboCop. Perfect example. People get murdered in RoboCop. Guy gets shot in the dick, but guess what? You can get a glow in the dark RoboCop action figure, which I'm not going to say that we had, but we totally did have it. Same with Terminator. Terminator is about a machine that comes back in time and kills people. But guess what? You can get the T-1000 whose butt flies off and shoots missiles. Point is, in 1990s Hollywood land, basically every property that had some sort of weird genre thing to it was being turned into a toy. And Batman and Robin pretty much was the apex of this toyetic thinking. To the point where, honestly, after Batman and Robin, yeah, you had toys, but they weren't really the driving force of the narrative. Like X-Men, right. I remember when X-Men came out, that there were toys, but it just didn't feel to me like the toys were part of the plot. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because there's a scene in Batman and Robin, and it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because like, oh no, Mr. Freeze is about to freeze all of Gotham City. Quick, let's go back to the Batcave and switch our outfits so we can have another line of toys available. Basically, and then we're going to take our ice cars so we can sell ice cars too. It's like, oh, it's disgusting. Like, yeah, and I think the audience knew that they were. I mean, we always know we're being sold to in these movies, but we just asked it to be subtle. Just be subtle. Like, I remember in this first Spider-Man movie when Tobey Maguire was trying to figure out his webs, like, he shot a Dr. Pepper can with his webs. Like, okay, that was real quick. It was a Dr. Pepper can. I could kind of buy that, you know, Peter Parker would be drinking Dr. Pepper. I know I was just sold to, but whatever. And one of the newer Bond movies, I swear to God, and I know that I'm remembering this much more outrageous than it deserves, but Bond, Daniel Craig, walks up to the bar and they're like, well, hello, Mr. Bond. Martini, shaken, not stirred. And he goes, no. And he looks at the camera and goes, I'll have a Heineken. Wink.
Oh, shit. I remember that. I think that was Casino Royale.
It might have been.
It might have been Casino Royale, yeah, because I remember there was a big product placement thing with Bond now drinking Heineken, which, let's be honest here, that makes no fucking sense.
Heineken tastes like piss.
It doesn't taste like piss. It's just, it's okay. It's for people who want to feel fancy but really are not fancy. But yeah,
you remember the Power Rangers movie? Like, quick, Rita's going to the Krispy Kreme. We have to make sure we stop her when she gets there to save all the delicious donuts. Oh my God.
Not Krispy Kremes. Yeah. No, but I mean, I think that's a different type of selling. Like that really kind of is the type of selling that we're all used to. You watch Back to the Future, and how many times did you see advertisements for Pepsi Free, which was the drink at the time?
AT&T, Miller High Life.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're used to that. You watch it at the other end of the spectrum where it's not kind of crazy, like the Transformers movies, where quite literally a Transformer will bust through a truck with a billboard on it for Mountain Dew. Okay? It makes no sense, but it's there. That sort of thing we're used to. But with Batman and Robin especially, if you go back and listen to interviews with the late Joel Schumacher, not going to curse the man, just saying, he's a good director. I mean, I can't.
Sometimes, yeah.
He's a good director sometimes, not this time. But when you go back to interviews with him, he literally spells it out like, listen, I wanted to create a good movie, but it's kind of hard to when every 5 seconds I get some toy executive saying, hey, by the way, make sure that Batman and Robin and Batgirl put on these silver fucking suits for no reason and get in these ridiculous ice cars for no reason and bring up all this goofy shit with Poison Ivy and Bane and Mr. Freeze and Mr. Freeze has to have a fucking car and a rocket has to explode so we can have a play set for it. So I get it. I totally do get it. But at some point, the director has to come up and say, listen, this is fucking dumb. And I don't know if he ever did that.
And that's exactly, I think, what Tim Burton did in preparation for Batman Returns. You could debate all day on whether he should have been given as much carte blanche as he did. But
yeah.
I'm sure he was, give me complete control, not because I'm, that much of a militant director, but I just don't want toy executives and Warner Brothers executives saying like, no, we want to make that more so we could sell Happy Meals, and shit like that.
But I mean, with Burton, I think he was able to kind of leverage what he did with the first film. The biggest thing I have against Burton with Returns is just that he deviated so far away from the source material. The first Batman, the reason why it sticks in a lot of people's brains and why, John, I think we both love it, is that it does a balance of giving us a darker version of his character that matches the comic books that came out at that time, but also dives into a lot of the wackiness and darkness that Tim Burton has. It strikes a balance. Mm-hmm. Batman and Robin, for all of its good things, and I think a lot of people kind of remember it fondly. I know I kind of do. Although, as I've gotten older, and this is kind of detailed in our first episode, I've mentioned that I can see where people have problems with it. And I think that is mostly just, this is Batman, but it's told through Tim Burton's brain. Okay, so it's like, if you took the concept of Batman, took it out of the whole, world of the comics, and then put it inside of Tim Burton's brain, and you spit out that result, it'd be Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Which, take it or leave it. Some people really love it. Some people really hate it. I think that's just what you have to kind of go into. Be like, you're not really getting a Batman movie. You're getting a Tim Burton movie about Batman.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it.
That's it. It's like you got Edward Scissorhands, but Edward Scissorhands is now billionaire Bruce Wayne.
Edward Scissorhands is kicking some ass, baby.
I mean, he did in his movie too. He stabbed what's his face?
16 Candles.
16 Candles.
Yeah,
he totally deserved it.
Yeah,
he totally deserved it. But yeah, so Batman and Robin. Where do you fucking start with this thing?
Well, here's what I don't get. What
do you don't get?
I thought that this movie for a long time was somehow, some way, an homage to the 60s TV series. But love or hate the 60s TV series, it was subversive and made sense for its time, because in the 60s, everything that was old was lame. So, of course, if you're going to get Batman to start in the 30s, like, it has to be like, satirical and ironic and things like that. But there was almost like an intelligent edge to the silliness of that TV series.
Yeah.
This movie was just it was like tainted, bubblegum flavored cotton candy. It wasn't clever in its silliness. It was just failing in its silliness.
I think the problem is this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. Like, I've thought a lot about this particular Batman. I had to rewatch it again. God damn you, John.
Hey, I rewatched it too.
I know, but I mean, thank God for HBO Max, because I don't know if I'd want to. I don't own it anymore. I did own it. I did have the VHS.
Did you buy that box set?
I bought the VHS. No, I didn't buy the box set.
Okay.
No. Here's the thing. With box sets, there's only a very few franchises that I will buy the entire box set for. Nightmare on Elm Street so far is the only one that I've done that for.
I got that one too.
Chucky too. I did that for Child's Play. But yeah, with Batman, I pretty much own the returns, and I have the Dark Knight series movies as well as the original. But yeah, so as a kid, because I didn't see it in theaters, I did buy the VHS and I did watch it. And at the time, I was like, "It's okay, I guess." Like, you're lying to yourself.
Well, that was a movie.
No, but I think I lied to myself because I was 12, and I'm like, "Oh, it's Batman, Mr. Freeze, yay!" Oh God!
You don't want to admit that you made a mistake.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
And you clearly, after about I think it was for me maybe about 6 months, I was like, "Yeah, this is not good," and I was like, I'm lying to myself. But yeah, so I've thought about this movie and thought about kind of why it suffers so badly compared to even to Batman Forever. Because you could take a look and be like, well, it's the same crew. It's the same director. Why does Batman Forever not suffer as much as this one? And I think it's that this movie tries a lot of different things and it doesn't know what it wants to be. There are clear moments, when there is a shit ton of camp. Okay? A shit ton of 1960s fucking camp. The whole scene with the goddamn Batman Forever card. Okay? Total camp. But then in the next moment, you've got Alfred dying.
Yeah. The tone is all over.
And the next moment, you've got Alfred, someone that we all love, Michael Gough, dying. Okay? And then in the next moment, you've got Bruce Wayne brooding about Alfred dying. And then the next moment, you've got Batman and Robin fighting over Poison Ivy, which, don't get me wrong, Uma Thurman's a very attractive woman, but okay.
She also used her sex poison, don't forget.
Yeah, I mean, she's using her sex poison. And then at the same moment, you've got Mr. Freeze, who is stealing diamonds. And then the next moment, you got Mr. Freeze, who is trying to revive his wife. So we kind of feel bad for him. So do you get where I'm going here? This movie doesn't know what it wants to fucking be.
Right. In one scene alone, the scene where we get introduced to Mr. Freeze's wife, by the way, thank you, Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, because they completely ripped off of it.
Yeah, they open the shot, and it's on polar bear slippers, and Mr. Freeze in a robe, and he's forcing his goons who are freezing to sing "I'm Mr. White Christmas." Like, come on,
Mr.
sing,
Snow.
sing,
Sing! Come on, sing! Come on!
And it's just like, okay, if I did find this funny, I'm assuming I would go, ha, 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 this is really humorous. And then he goes into the next room and goes, "My dead wife." I'm like, what?
Well,
You're
forgetting the cameo by acclaimed actress Vivica A. Fox, who complains how her skin's brittle and everything's cold because I'm imagining that Mr. Freeze has frozen her, so she's got frostbite titties.
Fritties.
Yeah, and gives this really weird monologue that makes no sense about how she wants to warm Mr. Freeze, which I'm like, physically that's not possible. The man fell into a vat of freezing liquid, so
yeah, can he get a boner?
It might fall off.
Oh.
Or maybe it's like what's his face from the Christmas Story, where it sticks to his leg because of condensation and things like that, so it's like always constantly frozen.
Hey,
like the tongue. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. Its tone's all over the place. It introduces way too many characters. Like,
yeah,
really, way too many characters. We're not supposed to know really who to care for, honestly, and we really don't care for. You would think that, we would sympathize with Pamela Isley because she's murdered in the first scene we've seen with her, but we don't. And you'd think that we would sympathize with Mr. Freeze, but he freezes people and kills his goons and
he's not a
everything.
real person,
Yeah, but
he's
like,
worse than a cartoon because cartoons can be smart.
Yeah, because you compare this version of Mr. Freeze to the actual animated series Mr. Freeze, and it's like night and day. You look at
about that for a second.
Oh yeah, sure, totally.
Yeah. I mean, Batman the Animated Series is arguably the greatest children's animated program of all time. I think that I would put it at number one in my own mind. And the thing is that, the people who made Batman and Robin are probably like, oh, well, we need to make Mr. Freeze silly and goofy because it's for 8-year-olds. You know what else is technically for 8-year-olds? Was the Batman the Animated Series. And they came up with the greatest interpretation of Mr. Freeze of all time. It's considered by many in the top 5 episodes in the history of that show.
I mean, I would argue that Batman the Animated Series, at least the first, I would say the first season especially, because it started to get kind of less serious. I don't want to use basically less serious as they went along, and kind of dived more into kind of the Justice League stuff. But I would argue that first season of Batman the Animated Series is the perfect adaptation of the characters besides the comic books. Like, if we had to say who's your best Batman, I don't think anyone could say the animated series isn't up there. Every character in that series is well thought out. They're 3-dimensional. You have fantastic voice actors who are giving hell of a performances for these, and a kid show. And Mr. Freeze, I think, is probably the best one out of all of them. And I mean, I love Mark Hamill as a Joker, but the amount of depth we get in just a 30-minute episode with Mr. Freeze is insane.
Yeah.
And like, you're sitting there at the end of it where Mr. Freeze is in prison and he's carved kind of this, what the hell is it? Music box of his wife out of ice and staring at it and just, biding his time to be able to save her. And you feel for it. And unfortunately, none of that really comes through in this movie. There's even a scene where he does kind of the same sort of thing, but because you have Arnold Schwarzenegger doing it, and because it has been set up and bookended by ridiculous fucking antics, there's no way that you can actually turn that off and actually get into the emotional meat of that particular scene.
Yeah. And Brian, we mentioned, the 4 Batman movies that came out around that time. Like, let us not forget Batman the Animated Series had its own feature film as well. So there was 5.
Sub-Zero. Yeah.
Well, no, before Sub-Zero, Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, yeah.
And that
Sub-Zero's great, too. Yeah. Sub-Zero
is
really good.
But that came out in movie theaters, so it counted as a Batman movie that time.
You're right.
And some people have said of the original films that is the best one.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they went so wrong with this, but I will say this in defense of Arnold. I this is going to sound insane, but I will back it up. He's the best actor in this movie. And the reason I say
I could agree with that.
Is because he's the only one that's trying. Yes, he's a terrible actor. Always has been, always will be. But he is giving it his all. George Clooney's a good actor. He's walking through it. He obviously doesn't care. Chris O'Donnell, fairly good actor, sleepwalking through it as well. Uma Thurman is chewing the scenery. She's much better than that. But he's the only one who's living up to his potential. Not great potential, but he's living up to it.
You know what? I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I mean, if anything, you're right. I mean, Schwarzenegger at least is like, you know what? I'm going to lean into this thing. It's coming right off of Jingle All the Way. Might as well lean into this ridiculousness. So, yeah, and Clooney especially. You won any of the menacing attributes of Batman, any of the nuances of Bruce Wayne, totally gone. Replaced by
human parts of Bruce Wayne.
Replaced by an amalgamation of a mugging face and some guy pretending to be a dad, because that's what he does in this movie. He's dad. He's dad man.
Dad man. You know,
because he's like, oh, you've got to go. You've got to spend more hours in the simulator. It's like, okay, is that what Bruce Wayne is doing now? Okay, I mean, I guess so.
Does that simulator have a porn setting?
Of course it does. It's Bruce Wayne's house. But yeah, I mean, that's the problem with this. Is any of those brooding things, any of the stuff that even we might have gone into with Batman Forever, because, you know, even though, as I said, I didn't really care for it, Batman Forever does go through a lot of the psychology of Bruce Wayne. Yeah. And we lose all that in this one. None of that has been resolved.
George Clooney makes Val Kilmer look like Sir Laurence Olivier. You know, like, and you know, and I did not care for Val Kilmer's thing, but I do believe there is some people that can make a defense of what he was going through from his performance, from his point of view. I
can argue that he was a far better Bruce Wayne than he was a Batman.
Yes, I think that's fair.
I can make that argument that he did bring a lot of the things that we saw in the first Batman film, where Bruce Wayne was still reeling with the death of his parents, going to the murder site, dropping roses. We see that kind of come back in Forever, but we lose that in Batman and Robin. That's all gone. Instead, we get these weird flashback scenes about Alfred, which were like, okay, yeah, I get it, but you had a lot of stuff from the last movie we hadn't dealt with.
Well, Brian, George Clooney seems like a guy who had never acted a day in his life, and was
sure he did. Revenge of the Killer Tomatoes.
And he was on NyQuil and Sudafed, and he knew, it seemed like every scene he shot, he knew that he was going to go shoot himself in the head after every, like when he got back to his trailer. That's how I would define his performance. A man who doesn't care if he blows the dailies because he's going to kill himself anyways. And he's so messed up on cough syrup, he doesn't know how to act.
It's a damn shame, because the man actually is a pretty decent actor. Something that is good. Like, that's the damn shame. Chris O'Donnell, do we want to talk about him in this? Because he's just a whiny little bitch.
Yeah,
he's a whiny little bitch in this. I'm sorry.
And that's another thing that, you know, we mentioned with Batman Forever, that it seemed like there was maybe some Batman Returns people in there that was like, okay, we can do this. We can make this really brooding and dark. And like, what if Batman doesn't want to be Batman anymore and he's tortured by the death of his parents?
Yeah.
And then what if Robin has like the death of his parents and he wants to kill, but Batman has to control that. But then there's like other people who are like, well, maybe Two-Face can have a crazy pink outfit and dance around like an idiot. And you know, Riddler can grab his balls and we'll do a honk noise when he does it. You know, and
I forgot about the honking ball thing.
And it's almost balanced. It almost works if you're not as, like, you know, militant about it as you and I. There's almost a balance between the silly and the serious. And this one, it's so silly and so dumb and so out there that whenever they try to bring any emotional stakes into it, it makes it so absurdly funny and stupid. And,
I will give you the perfect analogy for how I feel about Robin in this. In the first scene of this fucking movie, you get everything you need to know about what you're getting into with really one line from Robin, and then a follow-up line from Batman. It is a ridiculous suit-up scene that they kind of basically did the same shit from Batman Forever, but this time it's two people.
This one's much more hypersexual. There was dicks,
and
nips, butts.
Yeah, but after you get through that stuff, which you might be like, okay, I'll buy into that. Where you notice the movie goes downhill is in basically the Batmobile comes up, and Robin, Chris O'Donnell, says, I need a car. Chicks dig the car. And then Batman says,
This is why Superman works alone.
At that moment, the movie has literally crashed into a fucking wall and exploded. Because anything after that, you're not going to take fucking seriously. Because, one, you hate Robin at that point, and then you hate Batman at that point because he says some fucking stupid-ass thing like that. I mean, it's... like that, honestly, right after I saw it, I'm like, this is dumb.
I expected it to go.
Yeah. I expected to see a swirling bat symbol, go, that sort of thing. But
was that your '60s transition thing? From
yes,
the TV
that was it. I can't use the sound effect because of copyrighted reasons. But point is that literally sets up how you're supposed to feel about Robin. He is annoying as all hell in this movie. He just whines the whole time. I thought the whining was going to end because that's what he did a lot in Batman Forever. But no, he's now whining because he's a superhero sidekick and he doesn't feel like he has respect. Fuck you. You know who Batman's secret identity is? No one knows that except for like Vicky Vale and Catwoman and basically anyone Batman slept with. But you're the only person who knows that. And he's whining.
You get to live in the mansion. You get to eat steak every day and bang his leftover bitches.
His that's what happened to Chase Meridian afterwards.
All right, Chase, it's my turn. All right. You did pee him out before I got here, right? Yeah, of course.
Gross, nasty, but possibly true. But yeah, like this, you just hate him so much. Like I can't. Every single time he shows up on scene in this film, I just hate him. And I'm like, I'm waiting for the Joker to show up and be like, okay, I'm gonna beat this guy to death.
Yeah, I'm going to kill you and then blow you up. Yeah. But you asked me a second ago, and I gave this long-winded thing where I never got to the point. Is that I do feel to finally give an actual answer to what you asked is that this is supposed to be the second most dramatic thing in the movie after Alfred's sickness. Like, oh no, Batman and Robin, can they coexist? Like Robin wants his own signal and he's brooding and he wants to go out on his own and he's being dangerous.
Do you call it brooding? I call it being a whiny bitch. That's what I
want my own signal in the
sky. Robin signal in the sky. Okay, you get your own fucking mansion, orphan.
Yeah, it's Batman and Robin, not Robin and Batman.
Yeah. Who's paying for your suit? Who's paying for your motorcycle? Who's paying for all of your little gadgets? Bruce Wayne, baby. Okay.
Alfred would wipe your ass if you asked.
If you did.
I mean?
Yeah. And he would give you some fishy swir afterwards, and he'd tell you it's supposed to be cold. Okay. So yeah, I hate him. I don't really have much to say about Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl because what is there to say? She's there.
Oh, we can't.
She's in the movie.
Bring her up. We cannot.
Unfortunately, she had to deal with a whole shit ton of sexual abuse at the hands of crew members. Unfortunately,
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, she had not sexual abuse, but just like what's the word? Sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment.
Yeah, they were joking. This was something recently came out that they were joking about her weight in the movie, which is
so
horrible,
stupid.
Yeah, so stupid.
I mean, first off, you should never be making those comments anyways. But she was not only in perfect shape, she was skinny.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you calling her fat?
But either way, like, there's nothing wrong. But honestly, that was a thing that she revealed this recently, that she suffered, not sexual abuse again, but sexual harassment at the hands of some people on the production because of the way she was in the costume. And she had just come off of Clueless. So, I mean, it's horrible conditions like that.
Probably the designer of the costume made it for a woman that weighed like 93 pounds just to be an asshole. And it's like, I can't really fit in this because I'm a whole 130. Oh, you're so fat.
Yeah. So, I feel bad for her because she had to deal with that. But at the same time, she's just kind of in the movie. She's there.
I got the pitch for Batgirl. You ready for this?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so here's what we're thinking. Here's where we're going to really put the spice on the cannoli. We want to put Batgirl in the movie. Hey, don't you think maybe the movie's too overwhelmed with characters as it is, especially since we have 3 villains? No! Okay, all right. Well, is it going to be James Gordon's daughter? No!
No.
Oh, okay. Well, who's she going to be? All right. You sitting down? You ready for this one? It's going to be Alfred's niece. Do you mean her grandniece? Maybe.
Okay. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't need to explain relations.
Oh, and she's going to have an English accent? No. And is it going to really be explained why she's here? No. And who do you think? What amazing actress do you want to play off this role? Alicia Silverstone. Wait, the girl from Clueless? Yeah.
Okay.
You're fired.
No,
What?
that person wasn't fired. That person was probably the head of Warner Brothers at the time. Yeah. The only person firing him is a hedge fund person. Yeah, that right there kind of. Again, I feel bad for her because I think she was jumping into this, and they just didn't do anything with her. They give her this. I don't want to say it's a bad arc, but it's kind of a bad arc of she's back in Gotham racing motorcycles, doesn't like that Alfred works for Bruce and Dick, and eventually becomes Batgirl. That's pretty much it. And honestly, I gotta say, Alfred should totally be fired after this one.
Yeah. Hey, I don't think I would like it if he was working for Bruce's Dick either. Oh,
No.
You said and Dick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Dick.
Yeah.
And Dick.
But yeah, no, this makes literally no sense whatsoever because she arrives and she goes, "Oh, hey, look, a motorcycle. That's cool. Maybe you'll let me ride it sometime." And Alfred's like, "Absolutely not. You're a tiny, petite girl and nothing could ever happen to you. I don't even like when wind blows through your hair. I'm so protective." And then at the end of the movie, she's like, when Alfred's real sick, she's like typing into his computer, trying to figure out something. She's like, "What could the password be? Like T? England?" It's this thing she's typing in
England.
there. I literally think she types in England. And she finally figures out the password. And it's Alfred. He's like, "Oh, you found my electronic simulation? And I created you a Batgirl outfit so you could fight crime. You spent the whole movie saying that you were overprotective of her and she can't be put in danger, but you created a bat suit with titties?"
Yep, that's correct.
What the fuck? Did this movie not watch itself?
No. Toy companies came up. Toy company. That's Toy Company, man. I'm telling you.
Toys R Us made this movie.
Toys R Us made this film. It's Joel Schumacher's name, but it was all what's his name? Who's the Jeffrey?
Yeah, that goddamn giraffe.
Jeffrey the giraffe made this movie. Yeah, but I feel bad because I think she just jumped into this thing and was like, "Yeah, why would I want to say no to a Batman movie?" And unfortunately, it was this one. But moving on from there, let's talk a little bit about our villains. If you want to call it that. Mr. Freeze. I think we talked a lot about Mr. Freeze already, but just to kind of mention him and close him out. Again, Arnold Schwarzenegger's having the most fun on this, but it's ridiculous every single scene he's in. The man literally has no lines. He just has puns.
Puns. Yeah, he talks.
That's
only
all it
puns.
is. Yeah. And I'd love to know what the writer, written by Akiva Goldsmith, why he thought that Mr. Freeze was really Mr. Pun.
Yeah, that could have been his name, just
Or
all the
the
same.
Punzler, or something like that.
Yeah, Mr. Pun and his ice gun,
Yeah. I really don't get it. I just don't. And like, I remember even being as a kid being like, why is he saying these weird shit? Like, what? Like, and some of it didn't even make any sense to me because, I wasn't born in the 70s. But yeah, some of these puns in there were pulled from like commercials from the 60s and the 70s. They make no sense.
Well, that's when the writer was like a kid, right? So he's pulling from his memory.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite one is?
Which one?
Adam and Evil.
Yeah, that one's pretty
Fuck
bad.
you, movie. Fuck
That one's pretty
you.
bad. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Did you know that Arnold actually they put like certain light strips in his mouth?
Yes.
To create, and then like they started to like disintegrate, and he was eating them and getting violently sick because like you're not supposed to eat those; they're not supposed to go in someone's mouth. It's like what? Oh no!
But how can I make the big budget box office movie? Yeah,
My
if I
eyes.
don't have, if I, my mouth is not glowing.
Yeah, my eyes, the goggles do nothing.
The goggles do nothing. Yeah. So yeah, that's there's really not much more to add on Freeze.
No.
Again, Poison Ivy, I'd say probably the more villainous villain in this, probably has more of a fleshed out background. But yeah, they kind of missed the mark on her too. At least I felt they did.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean, she is chewing every inch of the scenery, and then when she was done, she started chewing the cords and the cameras, and started chewing the ankle of Joel Schumacher. Like her performance is so over the top, and I think she knew what kind of movie she was making, so she just went for it. It was up to Joel Schumacher to rein her in a little bit, and he never did.
Like I don't get it because she is such a like you have some really good actors in this film, but just as you said, there's no one pulling back here. You know, Uma Thurman, we've seen her in movies. You know, you look at her in fucking Kill Bill years later, and they're not that long later too. Like this movie came out in '97. Kill Bill, what? It came out in 2004, 2003.
3, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So not even a full 10 years after the fact, and she did an amazing performance in that film. So unless she really took acting lessons between 97 and 2003, which I doubt, she just wasn't controlled and wasn't reined in. And there are the reason why I say I think she probably has the most fleshed out story in this is that she clearly starts off as someone who is very much concerned about the planet, very much concerned about plants. I'd say a little bit obsessed, to dangerous levels, but unfortunately works with a psychopath, played by, Lex Luthor's dad from Smallville. Also known as Mr. Clamp from Gremlins 2, the new batch.
That's right. Yes.
John Glover. Professional over-the-top bad guy. But yeah, he... You know, you feel bad for her because she gets killed by him because she discovers, you know, his crazy, bizarro experiments in the jungle.
In the first 2 minutes that she's introduced, she like walks into a room and says, "Oh, experiments," and then he goes, "Die." That's all we get to know her before she's a crazy supervillain.
Yeah, and then she turns and then she's eaten by the plants and then is reborn as Poison Ivy.
Makes sense. Adds
sure, logic. And yeah, we then get this over the top villain that is like sexy but not sexy at the same time. Like I'm not at all interested.
I don't know if I can make fun of this character too much because like I just thought of Batman Returns, which I love, and Catwoman is pushed out of a window, follows a couple of stories, and cats bite her fingers, and she comes back as Catwoman. That's pretty stupid too.
Oh, it totally is.
But, you know, they shot it more thoughtfully, I guess. So, like, they use expert filmmaking to hide how dumb it was. In this movie, they don't. Because they're not able.
You're right. The cinematic nature of it, like the scene where she falls on, through the what the hell overhangs and falls on the ground. It's a very cinematic and very tension-filled sequence. Okay, she falls on the ground. We get this push in on Catwoman, and we start to see these cats just converge on her. And it is, yes, on paper, very goofy, but we buy into it. And I think part of that is the world that we're given. Again, I said this at the top of the show here. Batman Returns is Batman and the characters from Batman push through the brain of Tim Burton and spit out as his vision. So if you buy that going in, you'll buy the whole Catwoman gets pushed by Max Schreck and comes back to life, and is come back to life by cats biting her. This movie, though, I just think it's hard to buy into this world. I think that's it. It's really hard to buy into the rules of the world when their rules are so fucking stupid and so fucking dumb. You know, as I said, that first line you get, chicks dig the car, I need a car, this is why Superman works alone. Right after that, you're just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like anything else that happens with it is ridiculous. And like we didn't even get to the and I don't think we need to go plot by plot point because it would be here all night.
Oh God, no.
But we didn't even get to some of the more ridiculous things. You know, like Robin gets covered in melted ice cream. Not joking. Batman gets in a rocket and sky surfs out of it as it explodes. Oh, what else?
Well, just the insult of intelligence. The two things you just mentioned there. There's a scene, it's the most convoluted opening of all time, where Batman comes through a skyscraper, rides down a fake dinosaur, fights like hockey players.
Oh, well, how does he fight the hockey players, John?
He kicks his little feet together like he wants to go home from Oz, and ice skates come out of his feet.
Now, let me ask you a question. How does the physics of ice skates shooting out of a person's boots happen?
I'm assuming that he stabs his feet every night so they can rest inside of his skin and muscle.
That's how he broods.
Yeah.
I have to have, 2-inch ice blades jammed into my feet. So I'm walking around in Gotham with ice blades in my feet, just in the off chance that I have to shoot out, like Wolverine shoots out his claws, these ice blades when hockey players are attacking me.
When that happens all the time.
Because, that happens all the time. There was an intentionalized thing of that.
But the thing is, like, he gets up and it goes into a spaceship because fuck you, and then
because we're in space now. They're in space now. Can we count that as a space movie then? Can we count this as kind of like Leprechaun in space, where the minute
did they leave the atmosphere? I'm not sure.
No, they didn't, but they got close.
Yeah,
got close.
But yeah, fuck you, Richard Branson. Victor Freeze did it first. But the thing is, he freezes Batman's like hands and like wrist to the thing, and he goes, "You're mad, Freeze!" Like, logic just dictates.
Yeah.
Why not just blast him now in the face and then murder him? Why didn't you kill him? And then later in the movie, like not later, actually about 2 or 3 minutes later, they're chasing after him again because they sky surfed. Because once again, fuck you. And
oh yeah, and when we say sky surf, we mean there's no parachute, there's no nothing. It is just two people on steel that they manage to kind of stick to it, and they then free fall down to the ground, and they survive. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention they survive. They don't die.
Yeah, and Robin's chasing after him because he's just a little too precocious.
Well, like I said, he's a whiny bitch.
Yeah, he gets frozen. And Mr. Freeze gives his big old speech, and he goes, "I'll kill you next time, Batman." No, just freeze him.
I mean, honestly, like you just took out his sidekick. You've got him dead, bang, and you walk away. Okay,
it's just that it just doesn't make any sense.
I can tell you that Joker and Penguin would have fucking killed him.
Yeah. If you want this universe, like if you want it to be silly, goofy, and like if that's your goal, fine, I guess. But you can't deny logic. You can't have the villain literally say, "I will kill you next time," meaning he does want him dead, but will walk away from a point blank shot to make him frozen and kill him.
Yeah. That's right.
It's so fucking
That's what I'm saying. Like it all starts with that first line. Because once you get to that first line, it all is just a downhill clusterfuck of ridiculous proportions. And it makes you angry. I think it makes you angry. I know it makes me angry.
Brian, the biggest logic problem in this movie is the first movie had the Joker. He took over the mob. He used the mob for his benefits. He's a little bit crazy, but he does have a bit of a plan. It's just him and Batman. And the second movie, you have Penguin and Catwoman. And the thing is, The only thing that brings those two together is their mutual disdain for Batman. But while Catwoman's a conflicted anti-hero and Penguin's a sick pervert, like they eventually turn on each other because they just can't work together. I'm not even going to go into Batman Forever, but in this movie, she wants to turn the world into a rainforest everywhere, and he wants to freeze the planet.
Which makes no sense.
Why do they work together?
No, you're right. They're not mutually exclusive, and their ends could never justify the means. Like again, as you said, like one person wants plants, the other person wants to freeze the whole fucking world. Am I missing something here?
Yeah.
They're completely mismatched villains.
They hate Batman. Yeah,
but they're completely mismatched villains. And you honestly, what I think happened was, again, marketing and the toy company said, well, the last 2 movies ago, you had Catwoman and Penguin, so we need to repeat that. Okay, so get us another female character. So what other female character could they pick? Which other one is more well known? Well, really, it's Poison Ivy. Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the Rogues Gallery, like you ask a normal person, not people like us who are like Calendar Man, and people like
Clock
that.
King.
Yeah, Clock King. It's okay. Joker, Riddler, Penguin, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, and then
Mr.
they Poison Ivy. So basically, they were down to like the last 5 or 6 that everybody knows, even the average fan.
These are the C Squad. Squad.
And they weren't intelligent enough to have the villains actually be against each other and against Batman.
Yeah,
because that might have been interesting.
Oh yeah, totally. If they had them against each other and then at the same time against Batman, that would have made a much better movie. But I really don't think that this movie was made to be a good movie. I think it was made to be a commercial.
Yeah.
Worse than most Marvel films, because most Marvel films are commercials for other projects. This was commercials for toys.
But what the strange thing is, you have to make the movie good enough to sell your toys. Now,
absolutely.
I don't really know how many toys they sold. Maybe they're laughing all the way to the bank and saying, actually, you're horribly wrong.
I think I bought, what the fuck did I buy? I think when this movie came out, I think I got like the Mr. Freeze, and then there was like a 2-packer, because that was a common thing they did. They would give you like Batman and like, Poison Ivy in a pack. You could have them like verse each other, which I'm like, all right, whatever. But I think I had that, and Mr. Freeze in the toy did not look anything like Mr. Freeze in the movie. Like he actually looked more like Mr. Freeze from the animated series.
Yeah,
which is interesting. But that just goes to show you that they thought of the toys well before they thought of the movie. Okay, that's it right there. But
what about Bruce Wayne's giant space laser ex machina?
Oh man, again, we don't want to go plot point by plot because this again we would be here.
But
for
no,
like
this
3
is
hours.
Yeah, I'll do it as short as possible because
Okay.
this is like the MacGuffin for the whole movie.
Oh yeah, totally. So apparently, movie decides to tell us how Mr. Freeze is going to take over Gotham. Basically, in the middle of the movie, because Bruce Wayne apparently his father was a big star nut, and kind of missed that one there. Might have had a nice scene or two talking about how he loves space. But anyway, he donates money for a satellite system and a telescope that apparently can see around the world because that's something that's necessary. Again, you're talking about space, but at the same time, you're talking about being able to see around the world.
That's Big Brother shit too, by the way.
Yeah, that is some Big Brother shit. And this, again, looks like a giant freezing gun because that's exactly what it becomes. It literally, I'm not even joking, the structure has a person holding up the actual observatory. So it looks like someone holding up a freezing gun. Okay? And then sure enough, later in the movie, once we get to the climax, that's exactly what Mr. Freeze does. He puts his collection of diamonds, because apparently diamonds create ice, didn't know that,
into a telescope and makes
with
it an
lasers.
ice gun. Yeah.
With lasers and diamonds create ice. Don't ask me for explanations. It just does. It's science. And yeah, he gets his giant freezing gun and he freezes all of Gotham. Which at that point, everyone's dead. Like in any real logic, everybody would be dead.
Yeah.
Because there's no way. He literally says you have, 50 minutes or something?
What
before everyone dies?
Yeah, it's a lot shorter than that. Yeah.
Which I'm like, no. Try more like a couple minutes, like 2 or 3.
Because they can't
5.
breathe.
Because they can't breathe, because they're encased in ice. So yeah, they might not be frozen to death, but they can't breathe unless that ice is somehow you're able to breathe. Or I don't know. Logic doesn't play in this movie. But yeah, so the way that they solve everything, and again, I don't get it, is apparently, oh yeah, I forgot to say this, Batgirl is a computer genius, because the movie wanted us to know that.
Well, this is one of the greatest lines in the history of the movie, because the two scientists are like, oh, yes, we could reverse all this and bring extra sun during the night.
By the way, I got to say, those two scientists, they were basically bargain bin actors pulled from Batman Forever. They were the same actors that worked with Bruce Wayne in Wayne Tower and then show up as scientists in this movie.
I don't like that.
Yeah. So, in Batman Forever, when Bruce Wayne gets that first riddle and his assistant Meg says, who would send you a riddle? That woman is one of the scientists.
Oh, you're right. Oh, no.
And the other guy is another scientist, the other person that works at Wayne Enterprise. Yeah. They thought we missed that one.
Yeah. Yeah, get him another role. They probably were actually trying to help him out. Get him another part.
Yeah.
But anyways, what they say is like, only a supercomputer physics rocket scientist genius could possibly do this. And Robin goes, I'm on it.
Yeah, no, he's not.
What the
When has he ever touched a fucking computer?
Yeah. He's just a drifting circus boy.
Yeah.
Like, when are you a rocket scientist?
No one said whiny bitch needs right now. Okay, no one said that they needed a whiny bitch. Again, you can tell that I really hate Robin, because I really do. He's one of the worst parts of this whole movie. But yeah, so Barbara decides to fix the thing, and she makes somehow, don't ask me how, the satellites reflect the sunlight from around the world and shoot back into the telescope as a heat beam first, and then it gets busted up because of, was it Bane? I think Bane does some shit, right? He causes some problems.
Oh my god, we have not even mentioned
I know,
Bane
there's not much
all.
to say. Bane's insane. He makes the thing broken. So to fix it again, they redirect sunlight from around the world with this satellite shit and shoot it directly onto Gotham. And that apparently is enough to melt everyone.
And they're fine.
And they're fine, and they're not dead. Because they totally would be.
Oh, man. And the thing is, I can sit here and go, oh, that bad acting performance, or the Bat credit card, or, the nipples on the costume, or that Batman's hosting a charity event instead of, being an outlaw. Like,
yeah, I was going to say, Batman's not to be hosting shit. Okay. He's supposed to be hated by the police and hated by criminals. That's kind of how it works. The police are not supposed to like him because he makes them look bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the whole reason he exists is because the police force is corrupt to the point where we need a Batman. But, I could do all those things, but I try to look at the overall, like, what were they trying to accomplish?
Sell
and
toys.
I'm going to go all the, that.
Sell toys.
Yes.
That's
but
it.
in terms of the filmmakers, like, from the studio heads all the way down to, the production assistant, I don't know how they thought any of this was going to be acceptable. And I go back to the beginning of the episode. It seemed like they were purposely trying to destroy Batman, but I know that's not the case. But I'll be goddamned if it doesn't feel like they made every decision possible to destroy this franchise.
You know what? I think there's a lot of skeletons in the closet on this film. I think there's a lot that we don't know. about this film, and honestly we won't know anything more about it because the director has unfortunately passed away. But I can see where maybe they might have not have wanted to continue this and wanted to sabotage it. At the same time, though, this movie does kind of still fit the vibe from Batman Forever. So part of me is thinking that this maybe was Schumacher.
But
it still fits the vibe. We still have fucking neon gangs. Which, by the way, if you are a gang, how in the hell? Why would you want to be covered in neon paint? Like, why would you do that?
Scare your enemies.
But
Brian.
that doesn't. That's no. See, that makes no sense, because the whole purpose of being a criminal is so that you're not seen. Okay, you don't want people to see you. You know, someone gonna rob your house doesn't want to see you coming a mile down the road covered in neon paint with your own personal blacklight to keep pummeling blacklight on you.
You glow in the fucking dark.
That just says across your shirt says "I'm a bad guy."
I didn't think about that, but yeah, they literally glow in the dark. Good luck.
They glow in the fucking dark from the cops. The cops can never catch me. Well, yeah, they can. You're literally glowing.
Yeah, you know that dark tunnel you went down that has absolutely no light in
You're illuminating the whole thing. Well, I gotta have my black lights, man. I'm a part of the blacklight gang. Okay, buddy.
I mean, that's
our
Schumacher.
thing.
That's Joel right there.
That's what I'm saying. Is some of this stuff, you know, even though absolutely, I think this was directed primarily by the studio and directed by the toy companies. I gotta say, some of this has got to be Schumacher. Some of this has to be it. You know, it's a movie that honestly you don't need. You didn't need it. You could have ended it at Batman Forever and been fine. They should have ended it with Batman Forever. Even though I don't like Batman Forever, it at least closes out or attempts to close out the trauma that Bruce Wayne goes through. It tries to. Whether it's successful or not, I don't know. That's kind of up to your own opinion. But this movie was a total cash grab and a total grab at merchandising and toys. It's not necessary. It really is not. And it's really, and it did do the job of killing the franchise. But as I mentioned before, you could say the one silver lining out of the whole thing is that we may not have had the revival of superhero films that we're currently in without Batman and Robin. You could make that argument. You had to hit rock bottom first. Someone had to say, I just got back from seeing Batman and Robin. We're working on Xmen. Don't try to do what they're doing.
Yeah, we absolutely wouldn't have, because I think I read somewhere where Joel Schumacher said the next one he wanted to do it where Robin went off to college and the main villain was going to be Scarecrow, and then the sixth film he wanted to do Batman Year One.
Yeah,
you know, which we actually got with Batman Begins, and he would have done it terribly.
Yeah.
So yeah, if Warner Brothers would have just kept chugging out these Joel Schumacher nightmares, we never would have gotten, you know, what we got with Nolan.
Right, and again, I think you had to hit rock bottom. So if there's one good thing, it's that Batman and Robin was the rock bottom. And we now have Marvel films that have been able to honestly go between camp and serious without really skipping a beat. And I think that is because of the fact that these movies, say what you will. Some people, I know, John, you don't really care for Ragnarok. I actually really like it. Even though it's campy, it is definitely not driven by toys. It is not driven by toys. It's driven by the filmmaker. And that's what it should always be driven by. It should be driven by the filmmaker, not fucking toy companies.
Yeah, right? it's a bit too flippant for me. And I know this isn't a Ragnarok conversation, but
no.
The Guardian films, I think, handle the drama and the comedy very well. Ragnarok is literally just almost a lampoon of those movies. So that's what bothered me about it. But that's another conversation for another day.
That is a conversation for another day.
But yeah, so I don't know. Like, I think about that movie Monster Trucks, Brian. It was the executive's like kid at the studio, and the kid just ran off a bunch of stuff, and he wrote it on like, Post-it notes and said, "Hey, this is the movie my 8-year-old came up with. Make it." I wonder if somebody at Warner Brothers did that. It's Mr. Freeze, and he wants to freeze the whole thing, and Poison Ivy wants to make plants, and Batman and Robin, and Batgirl's in it, and then and Alfred gets
He's
sick.
dying.
Little Billy, he gets sick, but he gets better because Mr. Freeze saves him, and it's gonna be neon and explosions and Batmobile. It's like, all right, you made a movie, kid.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know. I think part of it, I think a good chunk of his toys. I think that if you want to pin where's the blame at, I think the good chunk of his toys. I think that maybe Schumacher just didn't want to do this anymore, and kind of saw the shit that Burton was dealing with, and thought he could do better with Batman Forever, and saw that it kind of saps your soul. Especially the demands at the time, which the demands at the time were not, as I said, they were not filmmaker centric. Okay. They were not the Christopher Nolan era. This was the era of, we got to sell toys, and that's what we got. Yeah. I mean, you can watch this movie for yourself. It's on HBO Max. I don't ever have to watch it again for a while. I think I'm good for about a good, 15 years now.
It is some fun. Like, if you are already drunk as a skunk on a Saturday night, it is fun to put on and laugh.
I mean, this would be a good this would be a good movie to have on if you wanted to do a bad movie night. If you wanted to watch this and then The Room and then Troll 2, this would fit in with those. 100%.
Oh, you could combine this one double feature with Catwoman, follow the DC universe.
Yeah, you could. You could. But yeah, fucking Batman and Robin. Man.
Oh, and Superman 4. There you go.
The Quest for Peace.
Yeah.
Because, we have to have the nuclear man.
Or as Gene Hackman says, nuclear man.
Because he can't pronounce it correctly, but okay.
Nuclear, whatever. Mr. Hackman.
Nuclear.
Yeah.
Nuclear. Okay. That's enough talking about Batman and Robin. That's enough talking. John, where can they find you at on the social medias?
You can find me at the creative force behind Batman and Robin. Oh, I just outed myself. Damn it. No. At the Unreal J Wolves.
Oh, good. We're at on the social medias. Is that everyone on the social medias on Instagram, Twitter?
I mean, I'm on Instagram, but I never use it, so I mean, I'm not going to let you down there. But YouTube, you can follow me at JDubs Video Nasties.
Nice.
I'm working on a Matrix video right now that I'm
cool.
excited for. I think I'm going to get a lot of flack for it, but we'll see. So.
I'm going to probably hate it, aren't I? Cool. You can find me at Brian Contents from the Psycho Show page. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Psycho Show. You can also check out our sister show, From the Concession Stand. We'll be dropping a couple new episodes there. We just did a recording on, we covered Dr. Death, great new series on Peacock, as well as the Fear Street movies on Netflix. Good stuff there. So be sure to check that out on YouTube, but also keep an eye or an ear out for it here on your favorite podcatcher. You can also find us on the Epicast Network at epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw away, or you too suffered some trauma from watching Batman and Robin in theaters, I can't sympathize with you with seeing it in theaters because I saw it on VHS tape, but I feel your pain. You can contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com, and be sure to subscribe or follow us wherever you listen to audio, and we will see you next time.
If Batman and Robin's costumes had such phallic-looking codpieces, why didn't Batgirls have lips?
Jesus Christ, man.
Epicast.